Pickle people, we are back. It's another episode of Is This a Pickleball Podcast, otherwise known as my therapy session with Mr. Wilson. I am your host, Matthew K. Pickleball, and I am joined by my esteemed colleague, Mr. Wilson. How are you today?
Hey Matt, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Always good to get a chance to chat with you. And folks, if you like to see Wilson and hear him chatting with me, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But also, Wilson, I thought I'd highlight a few other reasons folks might want to subscribe. And it's really one reason: the giveaways. Because here on the Matthew K. Pickleball YouTube channel, we are always doing giveaways. We are about to do one for a Honolulu CR paddle. Did a big breakdown of that entire line, explaining all the tech. And that giveaway is about to happen, so make sure you check that video out. And then we have one for the Spartus P1 as well. Those are two of my favorite paddles to come out of 2026. And Wilson, I know you know this, and I'm sure anyone that clicked on this podcast knows this, but there has been a tsunami of paddles, so that's high praise for those paddles for sure. And then folks, I know you haven't watched it because I just checked the view count and no one has, but I just dropped a big review, a classic Matthew K. Pickleball review with a giveaway of Volaire's new shift paddle. And Wilson, no one's watching that video. What the heck? If I don't drop the video a week before release, like no one's interested. What do you think I should do here, Wilson? Do you think I should just do the in the car first looks or what?
I do like the in the car first looks. However, you got to give people a chance. I mean, you dropped it in the middle of the day, Pacific time. People are still at work. I mean, do you expect them to watch it at work or something? Give them a chance.
Yes, I expect folks to have alerts on, tell their boss, I got to step away. Matthew K. Pickleball just did an upload. But you're right. Usually I drop them at 4 a.m. Pacific time, the reviews and the podcasts. So then I get the East Coast folks, that are eating their Fruit Loops before they go to work. But this video, I hadn't finished in time last night. And then I saw YouTube, the algorithm was beating me up on shorts because I took one day off. I didn't post anything on Sunday. So then when I posted a short on Monday, they didn't send it to anybody. So then I was like, I got to get this video out because I didn't want to wait till 4 a.m. the next day, because then it would have been, because I had a little bit of a streak going. I was getting probably like multiple shorts a day. I had a streak, and then I had multiple, since I started doing that first look format, multiple bigger videos in a row. And you were back from vacation. We got the podcast going. The band was back together. And then YouTube, they were being nice to me. But Wilson, I saw on the Volaire video, that has a giveaway, mind you. I did not gain subscribers. I lost one with that video. Now, what the heck? Folks, is it because of the facial hair? I don't know. This is a good segue into today's fit check. And Wilson, I don't know if you noticed, my mutton chops are gone. The craziness that was on the side. No, it's not good.
No?
Because here's the issue.
It looks clean.
No! Here's the issue. My twin brother has a goatee like this, and I have to be able to tell us apart when I look in the mirror. I don't want to get confused. I don't want to think my twin's looking back at me. But what happened was I was trying to tidy the facial hair up, and I got this brand new razor off of Amazon. Really loved it, and it's one of those ones with an adjustable setting for length. And I'm new to this game. I'm new to it. It's like learning how to dink. All right, I was playing it slow, and I put the setting on the most forgiving, the longest setting, and then I do one swipe and all the hair's gone. And I found out I actually, when I had cleaned it last, I hadn't put the guard all the way back on. So then I just took the whole thing off. So then I had to even it out, and this is where I'm at now. And I'm trying to get these back. But we'll see, folks. We'll see. Comment down below. Mutton chops, yes or no. All right? That's the only body commentary I want. Just mutton chops or no. But as far as fit check goes, all right. I might not have the razor game down to super well just yet, but I think my hat game is looking pretty good. I'm sporting one of Friday's new hats, black on black. I really like this style. This is not one that I don't see this simple black font on black too often. What do you think of this hat? You like this hat?
It's good, but it's not your MO. You don't have the rope. No rope this time, huh?
Oh! Folks, I did not set him up for this. Well, don't worry, because Friday does have a rope hat as well. This one I just got the other day, and so I'm going to be breaking this one. I just didn't think it matched my shirt too well. And this shirt, folks, we've talked about them on the channel forever ago, a company called Into the AM. They have like a lot of clothing that changes all the time. I don't know if this shirt is still available, but they got a ton of graphic tees. If you can't find one you like on their site, there's something wrong with you, because they got something for everybody. And promo code Matthew K works with all of those from the fit check, except for that razor. I'll put an Amazon link down for folks that want to experiment and school me, but no code for them. But all right, I know you got places to be, Mr. Wilson, so we're gonna chug along. We're going to just move into the next segment, which is our sponsored segment, and that is today's episode is powered by IntuitSport, a performance-driven sports equipment brand dedicated to giving athletes everywhere access to elite-level gear without the elite-level price tag. IntuitSport is rapidly expanding its lineup across multiple sports with pickleball front and center, all with one mission: make high-quality, innovative equipment affordable for everyone. They believe the playing field should be level and the best gear shouldn't be reserved for the few. While pickleball is their current focus, IntuitSport's product range is about to blow up, and they're quickly becoming a company to watch. Check them out at IntuitSport.com and use promo code MatthewK to save 15% on any product. Thank you to IntuitSport for powering today's episode. Also, folks, be on the lookout. I should be doing a giveaway with them at some point. We're trying to get it kind of orchestrated, but make sure that giveaway is going to be over on my Instagram account. So definitely follow me over there at Matthew K Pickleball. You won't want to miss out on that. I'm not sure what paddle we'll be giving away. This is kind of their flagship. And Mr. Wilson, I need to have you hit with this thing, because this actually has a very, very unique core. This is a next gen build, and it is very unique. But I wanted to highlight it because they not only have that version, but you can get an edgeless version, and this is called the Vision X3. The other one, the normal, is called the Tour X3. But we are gonna hit with these. We're gonna circle back on the channel. I believe this is the same as this, but without the edge guard. Double check the website for that info, but this one is definitely a next gen build, and it is a very, very interesting core, and I'm excited to have you hit with those, the power hitter that you are. And now we're chugging along, folks. Wilson, he's got places to be. I just said that, so we cannot waste time. So we are gonna move into today's paddle news. And Wilson, we were texting beforehand, going over the itinerary, and I told you we might not have a lot of time for freaking paddle testing talk, because there's some major news. All right, first off, where is it? All right, you don't even know this, Wilson. Whew. It has happened. Gearbox has finally sent Matthew K Pickleball their new paddles. This is the GBX Power. This is the hybrid, and then you've got, they're elongated. And Wilson, I know you know this, but Gearbox, they're known for that SST core, those carbon fiber ribs, but they heard the people. They found out we like Gen 3, or at least I do. And that's actually going to kind of be a theme of today's pod. So hold me to it if I don't bring it back up. But this is their latest line, and basically I haven't gotten to hit with these. I literally just got them in the mail today, but they are being sold in limited quantities. I think they're currently sold out. double check. Promo code Matthew K does work on some of their paddles. And Gearbox, what the heck? Why is it not working? I just checked and it's not working on one of your lines. We gotta get that figured out. But hopefully it's working on these. I couldn't check because they're sold out. But I believe these have already started pre-sale. I got an email blast about it. But I couldn't. They weren't available right now. But basically, this is their take on a honeycomb paddle, a Gen 3 honeycomb paddle, and they describe it as a suspended 7mm, not 8mm, 7mm Gen 3 PPPE honeycomb core. And they say it's precision tuned to balance energy return with controlled ball engagement. And folks, the honeycomb, that is all about feel. That the feel is just different with honeycomb versus foam, even versus Gearbox's own SST carbon fiber rib structure. And so I'm very, very curious, very excited to see what Gearbox's take is. And something that was interesting in sort of the literature that they sent me was they described that as a true unibody system with and then molding the handle, the perimeter frame, and face plies into a single continuous structure. And that sounds like Gearbox talk to me. They love having their technology integrated and made into a solid piece. And so I don't have an x-ray. I don't have like a blowout of this yet, but that makes me think that it's a little different than just the face sheet going into the handle. Seems like there's a lot more connection points. And Mr. Wilson, sometimes folks are a little priced out of Gearbox. But do you know how much this one is? Do you know already? Give me a guess.
I don't, but I'm going to say 100, no, two. How much were the previous GX2s? Do you remember?
Not off the top of my head, but I'm not going to give you help. You just have to pick a number. All right. Before code, it is 180. And so hopefully the codes will work when they go on sale. Pretty good. I always hate playing that game with my girlfriend because she always I say, guess how much I got this for? I got a great deal. And then she'll say the most ridiculously low price. And it's just it breaks me every time. But I do want to also point out, I freaking love, I have to take them off immediately, but I love the little wrap that comes with Gearbox's on their handles. It's a mirror on this version, but it says, warning, playing with Gearbox technology will elevate your game. And I always love seeing that. And I would like a t-shirt with that. I think that, I just love that. It always reminds me of Jurassic Park when I see this. I don't know. But anyway, I like that. It's the little things in life. The little things. You got to take joy. All right. So that is first bit of news. Any thoughts on that? What do you think about Gearbox coming into honeycomb?
I like it. It's something different, but what I'm excited about is the 7mm core. People go with the standard 8, and then of course they'll try to make their paddle feel softer by going to the 10. But I don't know too many that have actually tried to go down and go for a 7 or smaller cell size. So I am curious about that. So that's going to be exciting.
Yes, and the other thing that I didn't highlight, which is the real flagship feature, is these paddles, my understanding is they are never get heated up. They're cold pressed in some manner. And so that enhances their durability. That's what they're saying. And if it's true that they're not hot press, we all know the durability concerns that come with hot pressing honeycomb. And if Gearbox figured out how to make a powerful honeycomb paddle without that process, I mean, that would be very cool. But they've always been known, the reason they did the SST core, one of the reasons was durability. And so, yeah, I think if they found, it's very curious that they did the SST core for so long. And, I have on my front YouTube homepage, I have the categories Gen 4, Gen 3, Gen 2, Gen 1, And Gearbox, my older reviews of them, they're in the Gen 3. But I had to rethink it. I think the SST core doesn't have honeycomb, so I think that makes it a Gen 4. Folks, what do y'all think? Is the Gearbox Pro, is that the SST core Gen 4 or Gen 3? Mr. Wilson, what do you think? Well, I saw a
You
little head
know,
action over there. A
now
little nod.
now that you've pointed that out, I think they may have been the original Gen 4 uh paddle. I mean,
Yeah, the way I define Gen 4 is foam, foam paddle, foam, no honeycomb. Basically, Gen 3 is honeycomb enhanced by foam. This is my definition, folks. And then I define Gen 4 as a full foam paddle or no honeycomb. And
mm,
so, or a full foam paddle with no honeycomb, because I guess like a wood paddle would have no honeycomb, and that wouldn't be considered Gen 4 in my
it's kind of
categorization.
hard because
But
you have
I don't know.
those carbon fiber ribs. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's hard to
I know.
identify categorize the carbon fiber ribs, you know. So, but
Yeah,
it's
they're
durable. You don't hear them core crushing. So obviously because there's no
yeah,
honeycomb. So maybe it should be put into the Gen 4 category.
yeah. I mean, it sounds like Gearbox might be in a category of their own, which I bet they would appreciate. But speaking of Gen 3, holy smoke. Whoo-wee. All right, folks. I know. I know you're all hoping Matthew K. Pickleball will get that YOLA event invite, that evite. He didn't get it, but he is trying his best to check out a Pro 5 leading up to the launch, but I don't think YOLA is going to be super helpful. So, folks, if you've got a store or something and you could give Wilson me some early access to maybe get a first impression video out, that would be super appreciated. But aside from that, though, I have scoured the internet because right here I'm holding the Pro 4, and then we've been talking about the 3S Dual, but the Pro 5, it is official. The pre-order is now live, and delivery starts March 3rd. I think it delivered on March 3rd. I'm not quite sure, but delivery is going to be at the beginning of March. They've got the Perseus, they've got the Scorpius, they've got the Hyperion, the Agassi, and then the Graph as well. And I think those are basically the same shapes, but there's different names. And then they have the new hybrid, the Kosmos paddle, 16.3 inches long, a hybrid. Tons of folks I saw in some comments because we were talking about the Cosmos on the last pod. There's a little bit of confusion. Some folks I think thought the not the Scorpius but the Hyperion was a hybrid. Folks, the Hyperion is not a hybrid. I believe it's 16.5 inches long. It just has an arrow curve. It's still elongated. The elongated versus hybrid is determined by the length of the head. And then we could debate where that line is, but 16.5 is definitely elongated. 16.3 is definitely hybrid. And then, I don't know if you saw this, Wilson, the Magnus is not going to be coming in the Pro 5, at least at launch. So, I don't know. Did you ever see any Magnus Pro 4s floating around?
No, I don't think it was one of the more popular ones. I saw a lot of not Hyperions. Sorry, what was Ben John's one called?
The Perseus.
The Perseus. There you go. Sorry,
Well, he
brain
has the
farting
Hyperion.
today.
Yeah, yeah,
But mainly, I've seen a lot of
yeah.
Perseuses and a lot of Scorpiuses.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. The Scorpius. Ah, well, that's
Hmm.
that's gonna come up in a little while. Scorpius or that standard shape, but yeah, no more Magnus, and it is official. They are the Pro 5 is not foam. It is Gen 3 builds. So they're doing Gen 3. Gearbox is doing Gen 3. We're gonna talk a little bit more about Gen 3
Oh,
further
quick
along in
side
the
note.
pod. Okay.
The Graph and the Agassi are essentially the same paddles, but I was playing with someone over the weekend, and she actually uses the Graph, and she told me that the main difference is just that it's a thinner grip
Yes,
for, I
I've
guess, maybe for
also heard
smaller
that.
hands or
Yeah.
for females. Yeah, so I think that was just the main difference between the Graph and the Agassi. Yep.
Yes. Yes. I have not hit with the graph, but that's what I've seen as well. As far as the differences with the fives, here's the info I've gathered. Folks, once again, Wilson and me, we didn't get that invite. So I'm working with limited information, but the site is live. They've got a lot of info there. And then there were a bunch of reviewers that went. And so I got some good info from all of their posts. They're all posting, it's kind of like when you see your friend go on, I don't know, what is this equivalent I'm thinking about like when I was a child more than as an adult, but like when you see like I don't know if this ever happened to you, but so like my twin brother, like one year he got into a science fair that I didn't get into. I did the next year, but an international science fair where he went somewhere, traveled, did all that. It was very cool. You see all the pictures and you're like, it's FOMO, but it's like fear of missing out, but it's like fear I am missing out. It's not I'm fearing missing out. I've missed out. But so getting a little flashback with seeing everybody's post, but it's okay. It's okay. I've got a good life. But thank you, Wilson. You're a great therapist. I love this. But so but do you want to hear what the changes are?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, all right, I've got it for you. All right, so the biggest change from the Pro 4 seems to be the Pro 5s are using something called a kinetic frame. And so once again, I don't have a Pro 5 to demonstrate, but I'm gonna hold up this Pro 4. And so, as we all know, this classic Gen 3 design has a diving board design. So the ball impacts, and then this levers back, and then it goes back, right? So the kinetic frame is basically taking inspiration, they say, from other sports, including golf, club, or other sports. So they took inspiration from golf clubs and hockey sticks, and instead of this, and I can't really create this visual, but instead of the diving board where this is going straight back and then going back, they've created this frame that is flexing, and it's more of an elevator kind of, where it's going like it's platforming and just going straight back, not quite so much like this, but it's just pushing back, and this is kind of not going as much of an angle. And they're doing that through some crazy bits of tech inside of the paddles, which is they've got some visuals on their Instagram that they just released, that some guys made a little video that shows it, but the flex is more parallel with the paddle face rather than this angle back, if that helps. Hopefully that makes some sense. And basically what they're claiming is that's going to sort of like lower the launch angle. Wilson, I told you, I was ahead of the curve talking about launch angle. Anyway, it reduces the launch angle, as well as it seems that it's making the launch angle more consistent between different types of shots, which was my big issue when I reviewed my, now I understand to be defective, Honolulu FC Plus, where that launch angle was just too varied between hard hits and soft hits. And that was a manufacturing error on the unit I had, but some paddles just have a big variance. Like we've called it dynamic power output sometimes, but some paddles that have dynamic power output, if they have inconsistent launch angles, it's kind of like you can't have. You want more power on hard hits, you want less power on soft hits, but you want the trajectory to be the same. And so that seems to be what this kinetic frame is trying to solve, is make that a little more consistent across your types of shots. And that sounds awesome to me. The other change is there's apparently some sort of carbon fiber reinforcement at the top of the polypropylene core, and the EVA which is supposed to help with core crushing. Apparently that seems to be the sensitive part with the Pro 4s. And the reviewers that have touched with the paddles, none of them have had them very long, but they seem to think there are subtle differences. And there are lots of comparisons between the 3S, the Pro 4s, the Pro 5s. But what I found interesting reading some of those comparisons, I have not hit with a 3S. I've only hit with the 3S Dual. And the way some folks are describing the 3S is not in line with my experience with the 3S Dual. And so folks, if you've hit with a 3S Dual and a 3S, comment down below how they compare, because what I'm reading about people's descriptions, some of the reviewers, like, they hit with those 3Ss a long time. I never got those, but they definitely have like a good memory of those, and their comparison between the 3S and Pro 4s are not how I think the 3S Dual and the Pro 4s play. And so I'm just a little curious about that. And Wilson, I know I bailed on tomorrow's pickleball session, sorry, but I'm going to see you the day after, and I do need you to hit with these because I want to get your take as well. Like, maybe not a full game, but anyway, so they're trying to do some of their own core crushing, dealing with that issue that's with Gen 3. Gearbox, we just noted, they're doing cold press construction, or not exposing it to heat. I don't have that. I definitely saw that on their... For Gearbox, I saw that. If I'm wrong, comment down below, but that's from my memory. I just don't have it written down for some reason. But then, John Q actually interviewed Ben Johns about his take on the Pro 5, and dude, Ben Johns, he knows his paddles. He knows his paddles.
I think he's an engineer himself, so he's a materials engineer. So that's probably helpful.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's very interesting, because I'm going to talk in a second about, I think, how professional pickleball players might make good paddle makers. But Ben Johns, apparently, it seems, steered JOOLA to create more flex because he wants the paddle to snap back. He wants the paddle to snap back for energy return. And so I know we're getting into a little bit of nuanced language of what means what, but basically he wanted soft to be soft and hard hits to get more snapback. So we're going back to that non-linear play profile, but he actually seems to be much more concerned about feel compared to some folks are more concerned about performance, because he is pretty aware, and we have actually talked about this, that there are timing issues when paddles have too much elasticity. And so we were talking about soft and elasticity, snapback, all these different things, but basically it all boils down to feel on the paddle face and timing and how the ball launches and when it launches. And so it seems Ben Johns really wanted a consistent feel and a predictable launch angle, and that's what they've done with the Pro 5, it seems. And that's why I think reviewers are probably going to really probably not see really notice the nuances, especially folks that are really looking, I think, at paddles from the baseline power output. Like, I think really this is going to be the touch game, which I don't think a lot of us reviewers are at levels of play that really get to evaluate that aspect of the paddle. And actually, to be honest, how many rec players get to play at that level? But so, yeah, lots of folks are kind of calling this a lateral upgrade. But I think it really depends how you prioritize feel. And as you know, soft serve Matthew K. Pickleball over here, he never puts juice behind his swings. So this paddle actually seems very up my alley. I think I would have been the perfect reviewer for this one, Wilson. But
I think so too.
And then, thank you. But I believe Ben Johns and John Q discussed this pretty he did a really good interview. I took notes, folks. I know you all think I'm not very good at interviewing, so I took some mental notes of how John Q did his interview, and it seems they both agreed. They could agree. Ben Johns was pressed on this, but the Pro 4 was stiff and hollow, and the Pro 5 is soft and hollow. That's what they came to terms on. And so, but Ben Johns did really want to emphasize, though, that the Pro 5's ground strokes are still very powerful. And so, once again, dynamic power. And I think feel is really what I prioritize with the paddle. And I really think that's just the camp. But if you're someone that's just looking for max performance regarding power output, it seems it might not be a necessary upgrade. But it goes back to kind of like what I talked about with these two, is this one is $80 cheaper. The 3S Dual is $80 cheaper than the Pro 4. And to me, the 3S, the big difference, we already talked about this, was it is not quite as hollow feeling on those hard hits. To me, you don't get that same as much wow factor on the putaways or on the hard hits, but you can still generate comparable power as the Pro 4s. But the thing that I think is the biggest difference is in the touch. This just feels a little less secure compared to the Pro 4s. And so I imagine that is the Pro 5 might just be that notch up in feel compared to the Pro 4. But the 3S Dual is $80 cheaper than the Pro 4. And so it really depends how much you value touch. But I think that might be, you know how a lot of paddle companies, their charts are like, their pricier tier of paddles is their most powerful, and then, you know, you want a little less power, you pay a little less. I actually think JOOLA's might be touch. You want the absolute best touch, you pay the premium, but you might get comparable power outputs, it seems. And so that's my little breakdown on JOOLA. The pre-launch is going. Folks, if any of y'all get one of those, definitely let us know what it's like. And then, of course, there's no reason to even hesitate if you're a JOOLA lover but need a hybrid, because this is the first time with that new Kosmos shape. And so there's like no reason to hesitate on that. And then all of them, I believe, are in the 14 and the 16 millimeter thicknesses. But that is not the end. All right, folks, that's not the end, because I don't think Wilson has them right in front of him, but we have gotten the RPMs, the Friction Pros, and so this is RPM's first paddle lines. This is a paddle company that James Ignatowich founded and runs, is my understanding, but he definitely is very involved in the design. And basically they have two elongated, one's 14, one's 16 millimeter. Then they have two standards, one's 14, one's 16 millimeter. I'm holding a standard right now. Wilson's about to test the elongated. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because we're about to break this down. But the reason I'm bringing this up right now, Wilson, I got word. So James Ignatowich, his whole idea with RPM was like he liked the feel of Gen 3. He likes that honeycomb feedback, just like what we were talking about with Ben Johns, right? And so he wanted to make very high quality, very performance driven Gen 3 paddles. And everything I've heard about these is he achieved that. And so we will hit with these. We will circle back. But there's news, Wilson. And John Q, why is it? We should just loop him into this podcast because he's back. He's back up in our news section. This guy, we can't escape him. And so John Q has actually collaborated with RPM to make a foam paddle. They are making a paddle called the RPM Q2. They are making an RPM Q2 paddle. All right, that was a little bit of a tongue twister for me. I don't know why. But it's long story short, James Ignatowich, I guess, went on John Q's podcast. Hey, James, we got a podcast over here. But James Ignatowich went over on John Q's podcast and toured the basement of paddles and paddle gear and all that, and was very impressed, and they stayed in touch. And long story short, John Q kind of wanted to go through the experience of designing a paddle and just see what that was all about. And he did it with James Ignatowich and RPM. And basically, he designed a foam paddle, once again, called the RPM Q2. And his whole intent, I'm going to walk you through everything. Does that sound good, Wilson?
Sounds good.
All right. John Q stated he did not want to reinvent the wheel. And he happened to have already visited the factory that RPM was using, which I'm guessing might be 60's factory, since that's the one we saw all the reviewers visit, but maybe it's a different one. I don't know. And then, so James, who loves honeycomb, agreed to do this. And so John Q was trying to make a foam paddle for James Ignatowich. Once again, like a high-performing professional pickleball player. And so the things that James wanted to put emphasis on was connection with the ball, and then a crisp hollow feel, because once again James likes that honeycomb feel. And so John posted a kind of an x-ray breaking down his design. Basically, it's very interesting, and I'm gonna highlight the element that I think is most interesting in a moment, but I just want to walk through the whole thing. And so basically it is going to be an EPP core, just like we've seen with the bread and butter locos and many, many other paddles. And then it's going to have the EVA perimeter, okay? Just like the locos and a lot of these foam paddles we've been seeing. But here's where it differs, all right? So that EVA perimeter in the midsection at the 9 and 3 o'clock position, that EVA is cut out and replaced with pieces of TPU. And so that's going to be slightly higher density than EVA, according to John Q. And those inserts, once again, are going to be breaking up the EVA. And then, additionally, there's going to be at the neck, which we kind of saw something like this, I think, in the Rhombus Quantas. I don't know what material they use, but at the neck, there are going to be these dense foam inserts utilizing TPE. So lots of letters, but basically that's 3 different kinds of foam making up this core build. And then one other thing to note is the center EPP section is going to flow down and into the handle. And it's not really like a diving board paddle, because we got those pieces at the cheeks of the paddle of other foam, but it's once again kind of like it's like a peninsula. Basically the center core piece runs down into the handle, and so I kind of talk a bit about that in my recent Volair pickleball paddle review. And so check out his video, John Q's, because he shows an image. I don't know if I have permission to use that, but I hope that you were able to follow it. But basically, the things that he was playing with the design were just 3 things: the density, firmness, and rebound. And that's why he altered that EPP EVA formula we've seen in so many things. So the inclusion of TPU, TPE, and it's 4 foams. 4 foams. EPP, EVA we see. Then he added in the TPU and TPE. And so that was to sort of play with density, firmness, and rebound. And so, yeah, that's really... I guess it would have been easier if when I was telling you visually where it all was, what the point of it was, but I will highlight that right now because I did note it. But so down on the sidewalls, that TPU, once again, is a denser EVA. And so placing it at the center of the sidewalls enhances the sweet spot, reduces twisting with off-center hits. So we've seen that before. Paddletechs put weights there. The Boomstick puts it on the outside. We're going to be talking about SpeedUp, which does that as well. But in this case, John actually took out the EVA perimeter and put in the TPU. And it's basically a firmer material, more elastic than EVA, and it's adding some crisp feel, or the intent is to add some of the crisp feel that James likes. And it's supposed to be more lively and allow for more firepower. So basically, sidewall weight without that EVA there, which I think is a novel idea, to like take away the EVA and just instead of putting weight on touching the edge wall, switching it out with a different material. That's, I think, pretty interesting. I think that's a good idea. And then that weight that we were talking, or that foam that we were talking at the cheeks of the paddle, kind of similar to the way their Quantas are. And definitely check out my review of the Quantas. I walked through all that. That foam is TPE. And he chose that just because I guess the densities or how you manipulate that particular material is very tunable. And yeah, the whole point of it was, as you might expect, to pull the balance point down, just like you would weighting a paddle down there, and adding some forgiveness, once again, just as you would to when you would weight a paddle. And so it seems like all these kind of this formula of foams was just to create a really fine-tuned paddle, one that's tuned out of the box. And then this, though, is the exciting part. Wilson, you gotta let me know. Do you want to hear about the exciting part?
Yes, I want to hear all this news. This is all news to me for everybody who's listening, because I don't really follow everything until Matt tells us, or when he shows me a paddle and is like, give this a try. And often, even when he does say, give this a try, I don't even know what's in it. Or, I mean, generally I know if it's a Gen 3 or not, or whatever's on the face of the paddle, but I really don't know too much of the tech. So this is exciting news to me.
All right. Well, this podcast has an audience of one, and it's you, Wilson, because I think people have clicked away by now. But I did want to highlight the thing that I'm really excited about. So I don't have the paddle. You have the elongated there. So I've got this elongated JOOLA. And so John Q goes over multiple things regarding how he wants the foam paddle to feel. He uses like phrases like beam flex and the taco effect, but basically he wanted to make a paddle to have the flex of a Gen 3 paddle, like a JOOLA Pro 4, like a RPM, but he thinks adding that weight down here or changing that foam down here will achieve that kind of Gen 3 flex without making it super stiff like a Boomstick. And so foam paddle with Gen 3 feel. But the thing that I'm really excited about as an aspect of this is he added grooves to the EPP center core. And that is something I know I've talked to you quite a bit about, because my favorite line of the year, Honolulu Core Reactor Series, does that. Now, those grooves are in a different orientation. These grooves are like 1, 2, 3, very narrow, to try to really emphasize that taco effect. It's kind of like a tongue. It's a peninsula within a peninsula of EPP. And once again, it's kind of like letting that ball get wrapped a little bit is the intent, is my understanding. And the grooves, just like the Honolulu CR, are molded. And John did point out that they're 3 millimeters wide, 3 millimeters deep. And once again, that's in the EPP. And they're outward facing, and on both sides of the paddle. They're not glued together and facing inward like the Volair Shift. They are facing outward like the Honolulu CR, and they're not cut. John thinks cut grooves like kind of mess up the EPP structure and can make a softer feeling paddle. I've played with actually both core reactor versions, ones that were cut and ones that were molded. I'm not sure I agree with that in all cases, but I can totally see. I'm not surprised. It makes sense to me that he has seen that, but I'm just excited because I've talked to you before. I think these grooves kind of emulate how honeycomb can kind of let the ball pucker, lets the paddle head kiss the ball, and then blow the kiss goodbye over the net. And I feel that kind of paddle feel, that kind of feedback on soft hits in particular, is not present with a lot of foam paddles, which is going back to our discussion with the Pro 5s, which is why I think they probably stuck with Gen 3 over there, because it seems Ben Johns is very concerned about paddle feel. And so if John Q and James Ignatowich figured out another, like, I personally think the CR series has achieved this as well. That's my personal take. And that's the CR series without the new blue surface. Without the, I forget what it's called, but their new
Crystal
take
blue,
on super
right?
durable Crystal blue, yeah. The Breaking Bad grit. So I have not hit one with those, and so that could undo some of that touch. I'm not sure. But the normal CR series feels great, and it has that kind of kiss on the ball, great feedback. But once again, these are things you're only really going to notice in the soft game, in my opinion. And so I'm excited to see another foam paddle do that. I'm very excited about this RPM release. And yeah, that the grooves are supposed to enhance the taco bend. I've never heard that before, but it makes sense. And then peninsula or diving, I have this in my notes. Sometimes, so the new RPM paddle is like a peninsula / diving board paddle. And those, the one issue with those is diving board paddles in general, they don't always see a lot of flex at the neck, and the upper part of the paddle can play a lot hotter than the bottom, which I found that to be interesting, kind of a thing to note. And so this whole tacoing thing, this cupping of the ball, it seems to be addressing something similar to the JOOLA Pro 5's kinetic frame, which is supposed to like create more consistent ball launching across the face, and so and lower the launch angle, which I think is also the goal with the new RPM. And so I don't know. That's the paddle news I've got. There's some exciting stuff going on. We just highlighted the JOOLA Pro 5s. We talked about Gearbox's take on Gen 3 and now RPM Q2. And it's just some exciting stuff to me. And I should note there's apparently another paddle that might be coming or will be coming from RPM that John was involved with. And on his podcast, though, John Q did have someone that had done some hits with the Q2, the new foam paddle. And he seemed to like be a little trepidatious with like saying it was super powerful, but he did say it had good pop at the kitchen and then good dip. Yeah, so he had said good power without being too poppy. And so there's going to be, and yeah, that's one person's opinion. And then John Q also said that that particular unit had been hit by a ton of pros. And so maybe not, it had been, not to say that it will change its play characteristics with number of hits. All that's TBD, but just one player's take. And as far as I know, there will be an elongated and a wide body, both 14 and 16 millimeter. That was discussed on John Q's episode. But then John did mention that he was involved with a hybrid, I believe. And then I saw James Ignatowich, who's now reviewing paddles on his YouTube channel, trying to put Matthew K. Pickleball out of business, commented in his YouTube section that there will be a hybrid coming in 2 months. And then I did want to just, before we wrap up, all this happened very quickly, it seems. Apparently, John Q drew a little sketch on paper and a prototype was delivered super fast. It seems some of the reviewers got some fanboys at the factories, according to James over on his YouTube channel. Some of the factory folk are watching the reviews at lunch. So maybe, hey, if you're working at a factory, comment down below. But I think they might just be watching the really big reviewers. But apparently they've got some fans, and apparently they were really excited. Probably it seems more excited to work with John Q on a paddle than they were James, which is very, very funny to me. And then the only other thing I should highlight is I think there may only be like 2,000 units of this series at first, and the predictions on John Q's podcast, his friend predicted they're going to sell out in the first day. And so if you're hunting for that, I'd maybe put a Google alert on, or make sure you take note of the release day. And then we are set up, promo code Matthew K does work over at RPM. And so that is what I've got on the paddle news. I hope that all made sense, folks. Just try my best over here. Try my best. But those are the things that popped out to me this week that excited me. Before we move on to our next section, any other thoughts, any other questions, Mr. Wilson?
No, I think you did a great job on describing all the new paddles coming out. I also noticed that you said about the Pro Yola Pro 5s, how, how some people compare paddles by feel and some people compare paddles by results. And I think the way you do it is very similar to how professionals play, or how professionals compare paddles. And that's by feel. Like, you're always talking about how the paddle kisses off the ball and everything, and how the launch angle is and everything, coming off of your paddle. Um, and I think that the reason is because you have a pretty good gauge on your touch and your feel, and you can notice and sense the difference between each paddle. While people like me who just bang the ball all the time, or other rec players, we just want to know, oh, it went straight when I wanted it to go straight. It went cross court when I wanted to cross court. It went into the kitchen. It dipped into the kitchen because when I wanted it to dip into the kitchen. So I think it's the way you compare paddles is really good, and it's a different perspective. Um, and yeah, I'm excited to try the Pro 4s the way, what is that called? What is is there a term for their pivoting tech?
Yeah,
Um,
they're the Pro 5s.
the Pro
Yeah,
5, I'm
that
sorry. Yeah.
is, yeah, it is. I mean, I don't know what the effect is called, but it's the
Uh-huh.
result of the kinetic frame.
The kinetic frame. But basically, you said it's like an elevator, so it's kind of constantly pushing in the same direction, as opposed to like a diving board, which is like this. So I'm hoping
Right.
that will bring a little more consistency in the game, like for the people who do use it. I'm excited about that. And the reason consistency is because around the whole face, it should generally flex the same, like an elevator, versus a diving board where, like you said, it plays hotter up top. And then, of course, if you were to jump off a diving board near the base or the anchor, you're not going anywhere. As opposed to jumping at the tip of the diving board, so that's going to be interesting to compare. But yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of good stuff coming out.
Yeah, and I will just to clarify, folks, because I know you're commenting right now. You're about to type. Wilson is not saying I am a professional level player. He's just saying what I look at from a paddle is in the touch and feel department, and I actually know why, Wilson. It's because when I started playing pickleball, I had no racket sport background. And
Mm,
so, and I couldn't even hit the ball. I learned everything from the ground up. And it took me years to learn how to bring my own power to the game with a swing. Like that took me a long time. And I was in the forest wandering around trying to figure out how to describe paddles, and power wasn't really one of my main points of consideration because
I
it took
see.
me a long time to develop that skill. But I was constantly comparing paddles in the soft game. And so that's why my
Mm,
head is so there. And so I kind of am like at the reverse of most pickleball players, because most folks that I think get like hooked are, former tennis folks, or people that have some sort of athletic background. And I think that drives a lot of reviewers' impressions as well, because that's just what, like, that's what made them smile when they started playing, right? And so that's always going to be one of their barometers. And mine has always been, why is this doing that? And it also had a lot to do, the reason I am so obsessed with launch angle on hits with no power is because when I started in pickleball, I had a big issue of changing my grips. I didn't know about like continental grip or anything like that. I was just doing all these things. I actually hurt my arm doing that. And that's when I then had to go do a big thing of research. And folks, if you're struggling with your grip, there's a thing called Grip Fixer. I did a little video on it years ago that really helped me. So if any of this resonates with you, check that out. But yeah, I am very much look at it from that part. The thing is, you've got to be you're either playing with a group of people that want to instigate kitchen play, or you've got to be in a group of people where they're higher level. Like, that kind of play doesn't happen all the time. Like, it's kind of two crowds. You can go to the seniors, but even this, and then you could go to high level, but you have to be able to hold your own in the high level, otherwise they'll just blast the balls. But now even the senior crowd, they're all speeding up everything. So I think I had a rare opportunity to like gain that point of view, probably at a lower skill level than I should have been able to. But yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Wilson. Yeah. But yes, I think it's going to become more and more relevant. Awesome. All right. I love me some compliments. Thank you, Wilson. All right. Well, now we are moving on to our next section. What are we testing right now? This is presented by our friends over at SwiftNet. If you're looking for the best portable net, check them out. They got a great net. Promo code Matthew K does work over there. And if you get one, definitely comment down below and let me know. But I want to kick things off. This company, we have been needing to talk about them for ages. They are a company called SpeedUp Pickleball. And we've been aware of them for a long time. They've had numerous releases. And their big sort of standout feature on their older releases was they made paddles with freaking super long handles. This was their second line. They have another line before this with long handles. Their second line had the Pyro and the Cryo and very long handles. That was sort of what they were doing. If you need a long handle, these are actually, I think, on sale. So you should check those out. But they have now come out with a crazy line, folks. And I'm actually going to walk through all the tech. Look at this ball dust. Look how good Matthew K. Pickleball is. No, folks, Wilson had this one. He's been playing with this. And he destroyed. And I actually have a lot of technical info, but I feel we've been pretty heavy on the tech. And so why don't you tell us, Mr. Wilson? So this is briefly just, it's a Gen 4 paddle. I'm going to tell us some more. 14 millimeter build. They've got this elongated version with this very unique shape, this shovel design, very unique. They then have a standard, once again, this curved top, very unique. And then their hybrid, and they still have beefy handles, but they're not the way their last lines were, which of course is going to increase their stability, right? And so I have a lot of info I want to share, but why don't you give us your impression of the Tide 14L from SpeedUp?
Yeah, all in all, I love the paddle. It's definitely a power paddle. It's in the middle of the tier power paddle. I do really enjoy the grip. As you said, it's a super long grip, and that I feel like makes it so much more like other people compare. Currently, the top power paddles are hollow and stiff. This one actually has a little bit of flex, but the power is still up there. It's still able to keep up with all the hollow and stiff power paddles, which I like because I like that whipping feeling. So yeah, the long grip allows me to do that, to really whip the paddle around. And what I really like though is, although the handle is longer and the face is a little smaller, the sweet spot hasn't actually changed that much for an elongated paddle right there. And I thought it was from the shovel shape, which I thought was a little odd, but I could see how the sweet spot can benefit from it. But I think I heard you say earlier that there's actually some 3 and 9 or perimeter weighting on top of the foam that's in there. Is that correct? Could you clarify that?
Yes, I'll go over the full build, but there is internal weighting kind of right below, uh, right here, according to
I
their
see.
X-ray.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So I
that would
think,
definitely help with the sweet spot.
yeah, so that will probably help with the sweet spot, but I really do think the shape does help. But yeah, all in all, I really like this paddle. I played a lot of doubles with it. I was able to put the ball away like nothing. It actually feels really nice. I like it. And considering, I think that is a 14 millimeter. Is that correct? I don't remember what size. So
Yes.
it was, so considering how flexible it was, it didn't feel like as rigid of a 14 millimeter would. Like a traditional 14 millimeter would. So that was kind of nice. I got the light hand speed. I got my elongated paddle. I got the whip I wanted. All in all, this, I mean, if they send me one for me to use, I would probably use it in a tournament, honestly. It'll be up there with the Loco. It's not as powerful as the Loco, but I do like the way it feels a lot more.
Okay, that's some high praise. And you're comparing a 14 millimeter power to 16 millimeter power. And so, what's
Hmm.
interesting about the 14L I have here is their target is 8 ounces, plus or minus zero point 0.2. And so, if you wanted to put some weight on it to get that swing weight boosted or make it more powerful, you certainly could. But you then have that compared to like a Loco, it's that thinner build, so potentially more maneuverable. And so I actually got to talk to the owner a while back on a call, and I've talked to a number of paddle owners before, but this guy seemed super informed. He's once again going back to, I was talking about Ben Johns, I was talking about Ignatowich. This guy, like, definitely is a bit of a paddlehead. And the other thing that kind of puts him, like, why I think he makes a good paddle owner, kind of like those guys, this guy's a professional pickleball player. And so he's got a point of view. And it seems, I think he might have had some sort of materials background as well. I can't remember exactly. But basically, for this line, he wanted durability and durability, but also for the play characteristics to be long lasting. So he didn't want a paddle to play one way and then heat up and play a different way. Kind of like how JOOLA is addressing some of the Pro 4 issues to the Pro 5, like not wanting those changes, because at a professional level, you want consistency, or lots of people want consistency, right? And so he did want to keep it focused on power, and kind of similar to what it seems like John Q and James Ignatowich did at their factory. He worked with his top sponsored player, and they did rapid prototyping in China, different handles, surfaces, cores, etc. And this line is the result. And so I do think it's unique and it's special. It definitely, I haven't heard you say you've been considering switching a main. SpeedUp. Let's get Wilson one, because I'm working on my overview. Let's get Wilson one. He needs something for his tournament. But basically, this core is MPP with a PPE ring. So that is a unique combo. We've seen MPP in the Luz Inferno. And the reason he didn't want to go with EPP and EVA is he thinks that combo kind of dies over time. And I have been hearing more talk about, and we saw Pro 5 talking about trying to enhance the structural integrity with the EVA up at the top. I have seen some talk about EVA kind of being the weak point for durability with some of these paddles. So I think that's an interesting move. And then the other stuff that he really had a really good perspective on materials. And basically, as we know, I wanted to just highlight one little thing that he told me. So polypropylene EPP is expanded polypropylene. That's plastic that's expanded into foam. Okay. And so he actually highlighted how foam has air cells that can collapse. It's kind of like cell collapse after getting beat with a ball. MPP, he highlighted, and this is kind of like what I've always been wondering, like, why are people choosing MPP now over EPP? So MPP isn't made the same as EPP. So MPP is microcellular polypropylene, and it is made of, and this is how he described it to me, and it really kind of turned a light bulb on in my mind with like some of the paddles we're getting. But microcellular polypropylene, MPP, is made of these nanocells that are chemically created. So they won't collapse the way EPP does. They're not expanded. They're just created chemically. That's my understanding. I'm sure there's some genius that's going to comment down below. I welcome it. But he also highlighted how PPE, and so that's what is the ring, is very elastic. It's a rubbery material. But once it compresses, it comes back to its initial state. And he's saying that EVA doesn't do that. And that's what breaks down and softens over time. That's where we can see in some paddles where the EVA changes and shapes so much it's no longer connected where it needs to connect. That's, I believe, one of the changes the Pro 5 is making. And the other thing about that breakdown is EVA ring paddles, if they break down, they can get too hot. And so then you're not getting that consistent feel anymore. And I'm sure some people really like a super hot EVA ring paddle, but if you're concerned about touch and consistency, that's a problem. And so he did say the new paddle is stiff and crisp at start, and then it breaks in, it softens, and then it plateaus performance-wise, and it won't get crazy overpowered. And so what he was trying to do is have like long-lasting playability. So the play characteristics being consistent throughout the lifespan of the paddle. And so I'm very curious. We're going to have to do a lot of hits to really verify that. I think if we can get another one of these in your hands long term, that would make for a great test. And the other thing that I'm excited that he really was pushing for was, we've already talked about predictability, but he also wanted it to have shapeability. Do you think you had good ball shaping with this?
Yeah, I didn't have any problem with it. It's still, I would say, a relatively fresh paddle. Like any other grit surface and core material, it changes over time. I would say I probably had about 4 to 5 hours on it, and it hasn't changed too much. Um, so yeah, so far so good.
All right, all right. And then the other thing that I have to highlight is its face layup is three fingers. It's 3 layers of carbon fiber. The top is 45 degrees. The middle is perpendicular at 135, and the bottom is 90. And I talk about this in my Franklin C45 review. That orientation really does matter. that 45 can really soften the feel, in my opinion. And then he was saying that combination is going to soften the feel and add some dwell. And then once again, this is 14 millimeters. And that 45 degrees also really helps with the spin and the grab. At least that was my experience with the Franklin. And so, yeah, go ahead.
Do they come in 16 millimeters, or are they just doing 14 right now? Do you know that?
As far as I know, they're only doing 14.
I could see why though.
And yeah,
Um, I could see
yeah.
why
I mean, I
because
think
it's already it's it's already such a long handle. The weight's pretty concentrated on the head of the paddle. So if it went to a 16 millimeter, I don't think I would even like it. I'm just, it's all theoretical right now because they don't have it. Because it would be a little too hefty to maneuver in a 16 millimeter form. So I think that's probably why they stuck with 14 millimeter. But like I said, it's working right now. I'm feeling like it's flexible enough to compensate for the stiffness of a 14 millimeter. So, anyways, yeah, I was just wondering if they made a 16 millimeter because I would be worried that the swing weight might be a little too hefty for most.
yeah, no, I think they definitely settled like on a good formula. And don't forget, folks, we already talked about this, but it also has that sidewall weight. So they are definitely thought it through. And one other thing, Wilson did highlight this, but it has a fully molded handle, and that's super nice. And currently, I just checked the price. I don't know. Do you want to give a guess? What do you think this
Oh,
paddle
I've been
costs?
I've been pretty good, right? So I would say
Yeah.
before code MSRP would be 170.
All right. I think you might be spot on, but I think there's a sale. And so currently it's $159.99
Okay, that's
after
not
promo
bad
code
actually.
Matthew K. 144 for a performance foam paddle, 144 bucks. I think these are going to fly. And folks, if you're into the numbers, I'm just going to walk through them super, super fast, speed round style. But the 14L, this is SpeedUp's Tide 14L. It's 16.55 inches long, 7.45 inches wide, 5.7-inch handle. And then they're shooting for an 8 to 8.2 ounce static weight and a 120 swing weight, 6.4 twist weight. And all the tech that I've described, it's in the whole line, all the shapes. But the hybrid, so that's going to be called 14H, H for hybrid. Their target, once again, 8 ounces, give or take zero point 0.2 ounces is the target. Swing weight 112, twist weight 6.3. And this paddle is 6.375 inches long, 7.5 inches wide with a 5.5 inch handle. And then the standard, and we don't see a lot of foam standards that often, but this one. And first off, we didn't comment. Isn't this just a pretty paddle?
I love the
Holy smoke!
waves, the tide, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a very pretty paddle. A
and that
multicolor
green.
edge guard.
Mm.
Yeah, green at the bottom, teal at the top, sea foam. Very, very, very pretty paddle. But the standard is once again aiming for an 8-ounce static weight, give or take zero point 0.2 ounces. And this one's going to have a target 106 swing weight, target twist weight, though, of a 7.2. That's nice. And then this one is 15.8 inches tall, 8.1 inches wide, 5.5 inch handle. And so very, very cool little series. Very cool that SpeedUp has really leveled up. No
What
longer
was the
catering
twist weight
just
on
to
the
like the
L?
on the L, the L's twist weight is a target of 6.4.
Okay, not bad for elongated.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Yeah, so this definitely has like, I mean, a 120 swing weight. That's pretty good for a 14 millimeter. But definitely these are, I feel, made for advanced players that If they want that power, they can customize it. And I prefer people to have to customize their paddles to get power rather than to reduce pop. All right, I'm tired. I don't know. Make the power players have to buy all the tungsten. You know what I'm saying, Wilson? You know what I'm saying? But all right, SpeedUp, very exciting release. Kudos to them. Some very cool stuff going on over there. And then I know you've been hitting, because you just got back to me to hit with, you've been hitting with this crazy looking paddle from Head. This paddle, I'll just break it down real quick. It is made of 3 materials, Gen 3 build, a polypropylene honeycomb with EPP and then EVA. And it's a 15 millimeter build. It's $200, but promo code Matthew K, if you buy it from Head, will knock off 15%. And then you also can get the best price from Pickleball Central, I believe carries them, with my link down in the description. And what is very interesting about this paddle, they did share an X-ray. Going back to that taco, the polypropylene is just this little line here, and then it's this huge horseshoe of EPP, and then a huge horseshoe of EVA, and this like freaking, what's that that British sport with the bats?
Cricket?
It's cricket. This looks like a freaking cricket paddle with some foam around it. And very unique. I have not seen an X-ray look like that. They've got the elongated. They've got I believe a standard. Just a very, very unique paddle. But how the heck does it perform, Wilson? I know you hit with it. Gen 3 is back, baby. What is this like? Is it back? Is Gen 3 back?
Gen 3 never left. That's all I have to say. But this paddle is definitely not quite worth $200. I do like it. It feels great. It's more on the all court as opposed to power, although it does have some put away power if you put some effort into it. But it would still be in the all court category. It feels good. It's on the dense side, if people want me to describe it that way. It's dense. It's not one of those hollowy, foamy paddles. All in all, it was fun at the kitchen line with dinking and everything. But it was a little lacking in the baseline. I do rely on a lot of the paddle technology for me to generate the power that I do generate in my baseline game. So this is a little lacking on that end. And I don't know. I do like how it's majority. I mean, maybe Matt can share the cutout or something, the X-ray, because it is like funny. It's like the reverse of like a JOOLA Pro 4 or something, where it's mostly honeycomb and then just a little bit of foam EVA on the side. This is like a bunch of foam and then a little bit of polypropylene honeycomb in the middle. But I think that's an interesting take, and I'm glad Head is still trying the pickleball game because they're coming out with some pretty good stuff. But at the end of the day, $200 is a little much for what they are offering.
All right. What about 170? After the discount, it's 170. Is it still the same verdict?
I think it has to be 150 or less to make it worthwhile
Okay.
in my opinion. Yeah. Do you actually have one of
Fair
their older
enough.
radical orange paddles? I would like to try one of those one day.
I don't think I do. One of my friends had one of those when I
Ah,
first started out, I think. But
okay. I mean, it's
I don't
this
think
is
that was just a
definitely
is
this is definitely their best paddle yet, and it is not bad at all. But it's just not up there compared to what pickleball specific brands have to offer.
Yes, I definitely think some of the legacy brands, some of the brands that have done brick and mortar, some of the brands that have overhead, like have buildings, they really have to have that X factor to get that, justify that price point. But I don't know. Yolas, Carbons, like Selkirks, they definitely have set the ceiling on price. I think maybe Head, if they made like an undeniably easy recommend when it comes to price, could maybe level up. Because I know people love their pickleball shoes. Like, they are very much in conversation with pickleballers. I think they are just like a step away. Like, this is definitely a level up on all the paddles I'm aware of from Head. And I think it's just, we're like catering to such a different audience than like a brick and mortar, like this is hanging on a rack. Like this, like someone that doesn't know anything, like I could see this like having some major curb appeal. But yeah, we're really,
it's really beautiful,
nitty gritty when it, yeah, it is very pretty. But yeah, I'm with you for a yeah, it is tough. Like, if for a paddle with honeycomb, like if you can hit that 150 point, $150, and it's a high performing paddle, like I feel like you could just wiggle in so much more of a market share. But you know, some people might pay, we're talking $20 more than 150. Some people might like this X Factor, and they do have unusual shapes. So I'm excited to see what they've done. And you know what? Who knows? They might run sales all the time. I'm not quite sure how they're set up. And so something to look at. And then we're going to wrap up today's testing section with a little bit of a recap on where we are with the Enhanced Turbo line, as that release is imminent. And they sent a stack of paddles, and we've gone through almost all of them.
Nice.
Basically, yeah, they sent a stack. And so basically, Wilson has hit with both. So let me just remind folks, the Enhanced Turbo, those are the guys that make the Dink Master Pro, that Dink board. If you need one of those, make sure you use my promo code. They also make a ton of tutorials. They really know their pickleball. And then they started to get into the pickleball paddle game last year. They had some success with the Duo line, but this is the line I have been waiting for. They're releasing full foam paddles for $100 after code. Promo code Matthew K will knock these paddles from $19.99 to $99.99. This sounds like an infomercial because, as you probably just figured out, Wilson and I, we like care about price. Like we were debating over $20. All right, does $20 make it an easy recommend or not? If you get to $99.99 and you're making a good paddle, because Wilson and I, we met on open play over in the LA pickleball courts, and we bonded over both carrying our X-Packs. And this was when everyone was playing with the OG Ben Johns paddle. Costs I don't know how much. And everyone was playing with what was that other paddle that everyone was playing with? It was Ben Johns. No, that was before me. It was the Warrior Edge. Everyone was playing with those two paddles. Diadems, yeah. And then, go to the internet, and I found the X-Pack, and then I bump into Wilson. He's got an X-Pack, and we both had massively overbuilt grips at the time, and we bonded because that was $100 paddle back then. So $100, that is a great price point to get people into your brand. And for me, it was a great way to get into the sport because I was like, Wilson used to have a rule, 100 below. He wouldn't buy a paddle if it was more than 100. And then we got into the review game, and when you get to test the higher end stuff, like you do get a chance to see, like, dollars can translate to performance, can translate to touch, but not always. And I'm super stoked that Enhance is bringing this line to market. It's very very close to coming. These are full foam paddles, and basically they're releasing the Turbo EPP in elongated, in this crazy long handle hybrid that like takes the Mach 2 Forza and extends the handle basically, and then they've got this more traditional standard. And then at the same time, they're going to be releasing an elongated version of the Turbo MPP. And so I believe this releases March 1st. And I have played with both elongated. I've played with the hybrid. I still need to hit with the standard. I'm freaking in love with these things. They are full floating foam cores with CFC layup. And so I'm just super excited about them. I initially tested this one. I love the whipping potential. The hybrid, I love the feel. Loved all the whipping. I loved it. And Wilson was testing these, and I finally got them back. And Wilson, you want to give your little rundown, your spiel on how these compare? And then I have preliminary thoughts on this, but let's hear someone that's hit with them more.
Yeah, so I put in a good amount of time between the two. All I can say right now is that I like these a lot more than the Vatic V Soul Pros and even the Rhombus Quantas. I would choose these over those any day. However, now not however, but between the two, the two turbos, the MPP and the EPP, it's very minute. I don't know. I mean, I think they could have just chose the MPP and sold just that, and they would have been fine. But hey, you give people what they want, and some people are very sensitive to feel like you, so they can pick and choose. So both are very powerful paddles. I could shape the ball just fine. Although some other paddles, like for example the Loco or the Luz Cannons, the Luz lines, the Luz company brand, they have better grit. The grit on these paddles are a little on the low side. I wish they had a little more grit. But anyways, core, I love them. I would choose the MPP over the EPP because it's ever so slightly more powerful. And I'm hoping because what you said about Tide using MPP cores, that it's a little more durable than the EPP. But all in all, if you want a little more powerful, you would lean towards the green MPP. If you want a little more controllable, more controlled paddle, you will lean towards the blue EPP paddle right there. But however, they're just very minute. If I did a blind test, I probably wouldn't be able to tell them apart. No, maybe you can. I don't know. But yeah, great paddles.
Yeah, I am still sussing out. I actually haven't hit with a lot of MPP, and for some reason I am gravitating towards it. But they are different. I'm trying to figure out exactly
They sound
how.
different if you
They are definitely.
they sound different if you hit like just bounce a ball off of one or the other. They both sound a little different, but I like the MPP. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, let's do it. This is the Turbo EPP Lifetime Ball. This is the Turbo MPP Lifetime Ball.
That
All right, let's
Halloween.
see if I can juggle.
Yeah,
So the MPP definitely.
the MPP is a budget Luz Inferno, in my opinion. That's all I have to say.
Yes. And it has a little bit different feedback, but it's aside from that sound, I'm still sussing this out. So you'll have to subscribe to figure this out. We're playing in a couple days, and this is going to be one of my main things to stroke my chin and figure out. But I like them both. And I do think this one might have a bit more power. The elongated obviously has more power than my hybrid I had been hitting with. But yeah, the feel, there's some subtle things going on. And so make sure you stay tuned. But very, very good paddles. I think it's as if like the Rhombus Quanta and the Bread and Butter Loco like had a baby is kind of
Yeah, that's nice.
my take. I like how lightweight they feel. I like the layup. I didn't really clock any grit deficit, like when I was playing, or spin deficit. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that. I'll have to do my little banana serve test that folks know about. But all right, folks, Wilson's got to go. I'm gonna kick this. We're gonna have wrap this up with real quick today's featured accessory. I want to just give a quick rundown of Franklin's ACV Pro Pickleball shoes. I've been playing with these for some time now, and they're just great. I really like them. They have very deep tread for folks that are worried about that. They have a kind of an unusual, they've got a traditional herringbone down the bottom, but then, I don't know, lightning bolts up at the top. I really like them. And they have the breathable vent in the bottom. That's something that Wilson appreciates.
Mhm.
It's not only for odor reduction, but it helps keep your foot cool. And then I would say what I'm most sensitive with sizing is, or I actually should highlight, Franklin even highlights this on their site, like they're kind of missized, and you really do need to order a half size down, like for real, like you do. It's a half size. I think they just did it wrong. So half size down. So then if you order half size down, the length is what you would expect. I don't really have any issues with sliding inside. If that's something you are worried about, the Blue Maca insoles we're always talking about will help with that. But these have very good insoles to begin with. And the thing that kind of is my pet peeve with some pickleball shoes is the midsection could sometimes be a little narrow. This is just right there. So if you're someone that needs an oversized midsection, these probably aren't for you. But if you're someone that midsection, you've never even thought about that, then these are fine. And these are fine for me, and I am sensitive to a tight midsection. And so that is my quick take on Franklin's pickleball shoes. Also, after promo code Matthew K, $117. I mean, I think that's pretty solid. And if this tread continues at this rate, like, I'm very, very impressed. And I have been putting these through a beating, and whatever they're doing, I typically hate white pickleball shoes, but this fabric really seems to hold up. And I've been playing on some dirty courts lately, and so whatever treatments they did on this, I mean, I wouldn't eat food off of them because I imagine there's something not food safe keeping these glistening white. So, but as far as my shoes go, I think these are spectacular. Check them out. And now we are wrapping up with Mr. Wilson making me better at pickleball. What is our tip of the week? This section is presented by our friends over at Bodie Pickleball. If you are looking for any pickleball accessory, weight, grips, bags, check them out. Promo code Matthew K will get you the best price.
All right. Yeah, my tip of the week is pretty simple, but one thing I noticed over the weekend that I needed to remind myself. Now, with all the powerful paddles out there, the power paddles, um, you're gonna get bigger serves from ex tennis players and such, you know. And my problem is that I am always trying to attack their serves with more power. And the pickleball court is only so long. So with a power paddle hitting another power paddle return, it's just gonna fly out the court. So I have two parts for this tip, and the first part is don't fight fire with fire, especially specifically in a return of serve. What you want to do is take it easy, ease up on your backswing, and try to return your ball low and deep. That's optimal. However, that's one, low and deep. But if you can't, or if you're less mobile, let's say you're a little shorter, or you're unwinding a stack, or you're trying to get into a specific position. Part two of this tip would be to try and make a deeper return, but a loftier one. Give it more air time. When you give it more air time, it gives you more time to move forward or unwind. in your stack. Because you got to remember, the opponents need to let the return of serve bounce, so they can't attack it out of the air. So number one, either hit it deep, low and deep, or lofty and deep. Either way, make sure you hit it deep, or else you're just gonna get pummeled.
Nice, nice. I think that's a great one. I think the high and deep is coming into vogue right now.
Yeah.
I think with Anna Lee Waters kind of weaponizing that.
That's extreme. She's lobbing her serve, but
I
it
don't know. I
works.
like it.
It
Yeah.
works.
I just clipped one of those for my Volaire review because I was just fooling around. I was like, and it's like it's fun. I probably can't go as high as she can, but yeah, I think it. Yeah, put people on their back heels for sure. All
Mhm.
right, I like it. I like it. Go deep. If it's high, if it's low, just get it deep. I hear you. I hear you. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Don't forget to hit that like button. Give us a subscribe. If you've got that hype thing, hit it. I have no idea what that does, but I bet it will help us out. And make sure you check out that new Volaire shift video. We've got a brand new giveaway with that one. And then the Spires P1 giveaway is still alive. And that Honolulu CR reviews giveaway, if you go click there now, you might be able to enter. It is wrapping up soon. But yes, please, once again, subscribe. You don't want to miss any of that. But most importantly, I hope you get to pickle soon. Mr. Wilson, do you hope these folks get to pickle soon?
I hope everyone gets to pickle soon. I hope we get to pickle soon.
I will I will pickle with you the day after tomorrow. I forgot about my plans. It's okay. We'll pickle. All right, folks. That's all we've got. Everybody pickle, but just don't forget it's about having fun.